I'm excited to introduce friend of the show, the field general, the guy who is going to bring LSU baseball back to the promise. It's been a long time. It's been since the summer since he's been on here. I'm sure he's missed Lloyd a lot, but let's welcome Jay Johnson back to the show. Coach, welcome back.
What's up, fellas? How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Awesome. Good to see you.
Where's that backdrop? That's a nice backdrop.
You know, really complex. I literally just turned the computer around on my desk, and so I felt like your viewers would rather see a nice view of the
great
box instead of my cabinets. So
that looks. Look, I like the view. It looks great.
I think they would want to see like your depth charts and all that kind of stuff.
I was going to say what they want to see is the whiteboard,
notes.
Coach.
That's what I think
The
they
notes.
want to see. I don't know though.
The notes.
that's right over there.
Yeah.
That's right.
Turn that camera to your right.
Coach, let's get to it. Let's talk about it. Fall practice has been well underway. You wind down, I'm assuming, a little bit probably before Thanksgiving, and then the guys go out to Thanksgiving. How has fall practice been? You have a lot of new players. You have a lot of new freshmen, new transfers, guys that came back that are trying to make the jump from, being okay to being great, or for being great to being special. What have you seen this fall?
Yeah, it's been good. I think so far we've done a really good job with the controllable things, things that are really small, like when the position players lift at 6:30 in the morning, everybody shows up at 6:50. And so the things that require no talent so far, this team has been very good with. Very low drama, as I would like to say, where we could just, get on the field and work and make those improvements with guys individually and as a team. I always start back at the beginning every year, kind of assume that the players don't know anything and, really work through our progression as a team and with them individually. So all good right now.
Coach, I got to imagine something like this could be probably a little tricky, but with the amount of guys coming in the transfer portal, coming in from different places, from your point of view, how have they fit in so far and how are they adjusting to a new place?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think, first of all, as many as we have is a relative number. We actually have the 10th most in the SEC. So,
wow.
That's crazy.
Kind of what, yeah, exactly. So what is a lot nowadays? Right. Who even knows? But very good question. I think the team dynamic is something that you have to work on and you have to be deliberate with any year. No different than last year. I mean, it was a lot of players that, we didn't recruit, we didn't know. It was our job as coaches to earn their trust based on how we worked and how we developed them. And you kind of start that over every year. I think the advantage we have this year is there's 21 new players. There's guys that were in their first year of college baseball last year. So you have more guys that how we operate, this is all that they know. And the older players, I would give the credit to the returners. Those guys have done a good job of helping bring guys along and leading by example. And just because there's a collection of talent doesn't necessarily mean that it's a team. Like, you have to be smart in how we do everything and putting that together. And I feel really good about that right now. And I think it just speaks to the character of the players in the program.
You may have the 10th most transfers, but you have the number one high school recruiting class in the country on campus right now. And we've talked to a few of the guys coming in, Gavin Guidry, some of these guys that have come in, and extremely impressive personality-wise. They seem like they're mature beyond their years. What have you seen from the freshman class on the field, off the field, interacting with some of the guys in there? Because you have a team full of guys who have a potential to be first-rounders, and these guys are kind of coming in to try to figure out their role after being superstars in high school. How have they transitioned into college?
Yeah, so far so good. I think what stands out is how these guys are working and how coachable that they are. I think all of them are aware of we have good players, and they were recruited here for a reason, and they believe in themselves, as all of them should. So at least from a impression standpoint, there's guys with talent, obviously, and there's guys that have the work ethic. And now I think it's just getting acclimated to, maybe a new way of doing things, understanding that, this is probably the biggest jump they'll ever make in their baseball career from high school to the highest level of Division I baseball. You guys know better than anybody. It's probably smaller, going from LSU to the low minor leagues. And so we're just kind of getting them all acclimated right now, but very impressive talent, very impressive with their coachability. They're wanting to be good. And again, all good on that front.
One of the biggest transfers, obviously one of the most notable transfers is Tommy White, right? He came in here, he's been on the show, seems like a great guy. He's coming out there and every time they send out the TrackMan stats and you have highest exit velos, him and Dylan Cruz are, top of the board, right? And offensively, it looks like this lineup has the potential to be extremely special. What have you noticed from him and from the lineup in general? And it just seems like you have 9 guys that you can put in the lineup, then you have another 9 guys in the dugout that probably could be in the lineup. You can almost have lineup A and lineup B.
Yeah, I think in coaching, I've always had this thought: you're maybe never as deep as you think you are. On the position player side of it, with this team, you're right. If guys continue to improve, then we have some real depth and real options, and that's awesome.
Right.
That's a credit to the players last year for improving and developing. It's a credit to the talent of the new players. And in Tommy's case, this guy's a special hitter. I mean, I know those exit velos jump off the page. He feels like he's hit like 1 million homers already in fall scrimmages. But the pure hitter is what's impressive to me. Like, you can give him something really simple and he can apply it immediately. And I've always thought that was a key with great hitters, is their ability to make adjustments. And, like last Sunday, I mean, he hit one like 800 feet, off the scoreboard. I mean, it got out of the park in like no time. And then the next at bat, somebody got him to 2 strikes and then tried to shove a fastball in there, and he hit it like an absolute missile to right center for a double with a man on second base and not trying to do too much.
Right.
And so I think if we follow along into that type of, mindset with everybody, and you get a group that's controlling the strike zone, moving the ball, staying within themselves with runners in scoring position, we're going to hit some homers and doubles and all of that. But if the maturity comes along with the talent, then you're talking about you might be able to do something pretty good.
Coach, I got to imagine it's probably like a shot of life. How refreshing is it knowing that this is undoubtedly and pretty obviously a huge year for him? How refreshing is it having a healthy Trey Morgan again right now?
Big time. Yeah, I think the best is yet to come. And I know he's had a really good start to his career here, had a really good freshman year a couple of years ago. Last year, what he was able to do, basically playing at 70% or on one leg, was remarkable. I mean, that's a tribute to Trey's competitiveness. He's added some strength. We have been in constant work mode on an approach and just some subtle adjustments for him to tap into some of that strength and bat speed. And it's been very impressive this fall. I think he's driving the ball. He's hit 3 or 4 homers. I mean, the ball's really coming off his bat. He's turning on balls. He obviously has the ability to hit the ball the other way. Great plate discipline, great awareness. I think the best is yet to come. And when you think about how good a player he is already, that's really exciting.
I spoke with Trey a couple weeks ago I wanted him to come on the show and to talk about it. And that was the one thing he said. It was like, man, I really want to come on there and talk to you guys because I changed my approach a little bit. I kind of tweaked it, and it's made a huge difference. What exactly did you do to it? Because he's always been the bat to ball skills have always been there, right? His hand-eye coordination, his athleticism, but you always feel like you had more juice in there. He just didn't really tap into it, and now you're starting to see him hit homers. And it's like, well, what changed?
Yeah, I mean, I'll let him speak to some of the things because he's worked incredibly hard in the weight room and those kinds of things. And I don't want to short-circuit any of that. He
Right.
deserves all the credit for it. I think you just mentioned the bat-to-ball skills and the hand-eye. I mean, for him, that has both been a blessing and a curse. Right. He rarely strikes out. He can literally touch almost anything. And I can remember, like, him swinging outside the zone last year and grounding out second base. and running down to first base in front of the dugout. And I'm like yelling at him, like, yeah, that was a ball.
Right. Yeah. Just swing and miss sometimes. It's okay.
This is why I talk to you before you go to the plate, Coach.
Right. But literally, I mean, his plate discipline is just really moved up.
Yeah.
And what's happening is getting balls that he can really drive.
Yeah.
And so when you put that together with the added strength, he's such a competitor. Like now you're talking about something that could really be good. And I'm really excited for that. And his key, and obviously Dylan Cruz, who in my opinion is the best player in all of college baseball, for them, it's just about not trying to do too much,
right,
and staying focused on their plan. And they'll be successful no matter what.
The offensive part of baseball is probably the sexiest thing for fans, right? That's what they want to see. They want to see homers. They want to see runs scored. But pitching is probably the most important thing for a team, right? Last year, the starting pitching depth wasn't what you wanted it to be. You've come out there and you've talked to us about it. You've talked to other media about it. The bullpen was very solid and kind of carried you. Kind of felt like they got overworked maybe towards the end of the year. This year, it seems like you have 4 or 5 guys starting pitching-wise that can be in the weekend rotation. And one of those guys that I really want to talk about is Grant Taylor, because I feel like every time I see him out there, he's sitting 97, 98, and he's striking out, 11 guys in 4 innings. And it's like, well, this guy must have figured something out over the summer. How has the starting pitching been? How is the depth, and what are you excited about?
Yeah, I'm very excited about the pitching staff. I think those guys are throwing the ball with great conviction. Some guys have made some real big jumps, not just in terms of velocity, but their secondary pitches, where if they're executing pitches, that's what their job is, they can be really difficult to deal with. And, I mentioned Grant Taylor. I think if you were to ask me, one guy that was going to be like, whoa, this guy really, really elevated himself. Grant's probably the first one that comes to mind. I mean, it's 4 pitches for strikes. He really believes in himself, throwing everything with great conviction. You can't really plan for him, at least the way he's executing right now. And that's a lot for a hitter to deal with, and really excited to see him continue to progress. And he's putting a lot of good days together in a row. And I was talking to pitching coach Wes Johnson yesterday, and Grant through his bullpen. He's like, man, he was really good today. I was like, well, what about the last time?
What about the last time he struck out everybody he faced?
Right, yeah. So,
how has Wes Johnson been? How has the adjustment been? How is he a big? I'm assuming he's a big part of those jumps that these guys are making.
Yeah, I think you guys are players, and,
right,
and I think the most important thing that I was not talking about you.
I didn't know if you heard that. Yeah, I thought he stuck it by you.
This guy.
But I mean, the most important thing in the player-coach thing is trust, right, and buy-in. And so when you bring a coach that has coached at the highest level and it's really developed guys, I mean, his knowledge is unbelievable. His ability to communicate is second to none. But we have immediate buy-in with those guys. And that buy-in, they are attentive as they possibly can be. So when you look at it that way, he's having a massive impact. And then once you have that buy-in, him really executing the plan on a daily basis of taking guys from A to Z is awesome. And he's a massive part of, we mentioned Grant, and the improvements he's making. And it's exciting because, there's a lot of guys that may not be at the forefront of this thing this year, but if they just stick with it, I mean, they're going to go like from, hey, maybe a back end guy on the staff to this guy's starting on the weekend on a team that's right, capable of competing for a national title. Like if the players continue to stay focused on this process that they're being taken through, I think you're going to see a lot of jumps on the pitching staff, and that's really exciting.
So I'm glad you mentioned the elephant in the room for us, because quite frankly, I'm sick of talking about how good he is. No, I'm just kidding. I don't think there's like a single thing that you can say about him on the field as a real negative. Can you speak to the maturity and the growth that Dylan Cruz is making as a leader right now in this club?
Yeah, this dude is special. Like, and I really hope that everybody here like understands it. I mean, obviously we had, before I was here, but Joe Burrow, you know what I mean? Right. Heisman Trophy winning quarterback and that type of impact. Like, for me, that's what Dylan is. Joe Burrow is the best college football player. You know, Dylan Cruz is the best college baseball player right now. And so the talent in itself really catches your attention. But what I get to see on a daily basis is like this great person, you know, that leads by example and also is leading by voice. And when the best player speaks up, everybody listens and everybody follows. I mean, it's more powerful than any coach saying anything. And so I'm really proud of his evolution that way. You know, just as an example, it's an off day for us today. He's here at the facility working on his own. We want to be a culture, what we call a lights on culture, where guys are here outside the time. You know, a lot of the times championship teams, the winning and the separation happens in the in-between when you're together. You know, whether it's on a road trip and getting people connected or doing extra work. And Dylan really sets the example with that.
As far as football, it's football season, obviously, right? So football recruiting, does the LSU football doing what they do and having the excitement, does that help with your recruiting and bringing guys in? Like, is that something that you focus on, or is that just a byproduct of like, hey, you come to LSU and that's just what you're going to get?
Yeah, so I got two answers for you on that. I mean, the competitor in me, I always want us to be known as a baseball school.
Right.
Like, I want to be the flagship program. That's probably the bad part of my personality.
No, it's good.
However, you're not going to find a bigger fan of what those guys are doing than sitting right here. Right. I mean, because exactly what you said, there's great examples of what they're doing. Like, they're in week 7 or 8 right now, and how much better is our team than in week 1. And when you listen to Coach Kelly speak and talking about being process-oriented or fundamentals or focus, all of these things are relative to helping our players grow and what we're doing. So I look at it like, I mean, they're setting a tremendous example right now. And we point to things that they do well. So in the immediate, it's helping our team develop. And then on what you're talking about, you know, I mean, we had 6 recruits here for that weekend. And I mean, they were supposed to meet us and they like caught up the field, you know what I mean? So I don't think they were in a hurry for, you know, any coaches meetings at that point in time.
I can't imagine.
And so, that's a big deal. And it's something that we're definitely pulling for those guys. And, you know, same with Coach McMahon in basketball, because the better we all do, it's great for everybody.
Yep.
Bosch has got an extension, so that's good.
Let's flip it back. Let's flip it back to baseball. Lloyd has to always throw his 2 cents in there. Flip it back to baseball. So another issue towards back into the season, probably the last 20, 30 games of the season, I felt like the defense played well, right? Obviously, the beginning of the season started all slow, and it skewed, I think, the numbers for the full season. How has the defense and the infield, and how is because you're gonna have new faces in the infield as well. How have they gelled together? That's a position group of people that have to have some chemistry together. How are they gelled together?
Yeah, I'm really excited about that right now. A few things have kind of evolved. I think last year, you know, we had a couple things that weren't in our favor. You know, I asked Cade Doty to basically play a different position.
Right.
You know, Jordan had knee surgery, you know, 3 weeks before the season started and played opening night. And that really affected the strength in his legs, his ability to bend, play low, which is everything as an infielder, stay in his legs when he was throwing. And then, you know, Jacob Berry, you know, was known for his offense. Now, to his credit, he became a good defensive third baseman. But we were kind of fighting an uphill battle. And so this year, we made it an absolute priority from day one relative to fundamentals and what we were trying to do. And these guys have worked extremely hard. And, you know, in our blueprint for winning and what this team needs to do to be successful, our ability to control the baseball in the field is absolutely going to be priority number one, because somebody's going to hit a homer, We're going to strike some dudes out, but those guys have done a really good job. And it's credit to them and their work ethic. And there's really 6 guys right now when you talk about second base, shortstop, and third base that I'm really comfortable putting in a game right now. And so I feel good about where we're at. I feel good about the work they're putting in. I feel good about their awareness of the things that they need to do to be a good infielder for us. And we're just going to keep pushing the ball forward and keep working in this manner. And when they go home in December, they're going to have an outlined plan every day of the things they need to do to continue the progress that they've made. But I think if you were out here watching InterSquad, you can clearly see what I'm talking about.
I mean, you have probably 4 or 5 spots on the field that are pretty much set in stone, right? You have some guys there that have been there for a while that you pretty much know. But the blessing and the curse, I guess it's more of a blessing, is when you have a bunch of depth and you have a bunch of talented players, you have some pretty intense position battles, right? You have some competition that makes everybody better. What are some of the positions that you have enjoyed watching these guys compete with each other to try to earn a starting spot?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think I've never rushed these decisions, and I think what I learned is players, they change and evolve day to day. I think what I'm looking for is consistency and reliability and performance, especially when you have some special players like Dylan, Tommy's ability to hit the ball, Trey Morgan, those guys. Like, all you're looking for with the rest of the puzzle is reliability and consistency in terms of taking quality at bats and controlling the baseball on defense. And so there's a lot of guys that can do that. I mean, I'm firmly believe that it'll be many years down the road, but you'll look and there'll be a major league player that came from this team that was not an everyday starter.
Yep.
And so I'm excited to see it all evolve. There's a number of guys that I have confidence in, and kind of how I do the fall, like, we're not rolling out like, this is what I think the starting lineup is, or any of that type of stuff. I do think the competition is great because it's elevating what everybody's doing.
Yeah.
And these guys know, like, if coach is going to talk about reliability, and I got to bring it on a daily basis.
Right.
And you've really seen some guys lift, and some guys maybe go the other way when it's that way, and that's okay. I mean, this is a team that's trying to achieve at a high level and achieve at a high level for a long time.
Yep.
There's veterans that, maybe had critical roles last year. The role might be different. There's high school guys that have been the dude everywhere they've been that it might take a little bit of time, but the best teams that I've had often haven't looked the same in Omaha as they did at the beginning of the year. And it's a long season. And so what we're trying to get these guys to do is understand what makes them their best player, help coach them to that, and then the puzzle will kind of put itself together.
Coach, I'm hearing a lot of what you're saying now. I'm a listener, and I heard a lot of injuries last year. You're looking for a CRP, a little competition, reliability, performance. So you're looking right at the guy right here who's got eligibility left. I graduated early because I didn't graduate at all. If you need a guy that just can play the middle infield, get you turned, I know how to get on the knee, turn one this way. I'm just saying, there's room out there for me. It seems like you need a 5 or 6. Use Bianco as a glue guy. There's somebody in that locker room that needs to carry the boombox, and you're staring right at him. It's up to you, Coach. That's all I'm saying. Putting the ball in your court.
Noted.
Hey, Coach, how many infielders have you taught to get on the knee and flip it over into? Not very many, I can imagine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if that's a good or bad thing.
Demonstration is really important to good coaching. And so, Lloyd, if you really got that thing down, I'm open to look at the video, and
there we
I
go.
Can maybe show Ben DePoltz how to do it better than you.
I've been hanging out with Skip Burtman every Tuesday. I got HWA now, How to Win Awareness.
There you go.
That's one for you. You can keep that one.
There you go. Very good. That's by osmosis. Hopefully, Coach Burtman.
There you go. There you go. Coach, I appreciate your time. I know it's getting late. I know you're at the field. That's your baby. You're a grinder. I love that about you. That's what makes you so good. I'm excited to watch this team grow. I'm excited to watch y'all compete in the spring. Can't get here soon enough, but again, always a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you so much.
All All right, guys. Have a
All right,
good night.
appreciate you too.
Thank you, Coach.
I think there's some carries out there.